you guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Madison Hill, and yes, it's time for another Pop Off with Madison. For today's Pop Off, you guys, I'm going to be talking about Britney Spears because TMZ released a new documentary about her life post-conservatorship, and some of the accusations made in this documentary are absolutely wild. From Britney Spears allegedly drinking gallons of caffeine, to her having an alleged fascination with knives, to alleged marital strife with her husband Sam Asghari. I'm telling you, you guys, the accusations are absolutely insane. And to make matters that much more interesting, Britney Spears nor anyone very close to Britney Spears was actually interviewed in this documentary. This is all coming from people who work in the newsroom at TMZ. They are relaying information that their sources have told them. So as I'm sure you've guessed, people are not a huge fan of this documentary, including Britney's husband Sam Asghari. He's since taken to social media to speak out against the documentary, so I'm also going to fill you in on what he had to say. And essentially, you guys, you know how I like to handle these stories. I want to give you the biggest takeaways from this TMZ documentary. A, to save you time so you don't have to sit through it, and B, that way we can kind of sift through these takeaways and see what truth we actually think lies in the things that are mentioned in this documentary. Because while I do think there are some truth to the things that people are saying, I also think there's a lot of salaciousness happening in this documentary. So we're gonna break it all down. But before we do, since this is the first pop-up of the week, you know, I have to check in and see how the House of Hill is doing. So let me know how you are, what you've been up to, all of that good stuff down below. For all of the moms in the House of Hill, I hope you had a fantastic Mother's Day. All Mama Hill wanted to do for Mother's Day was stay home because we've been very busy. So we just had a little brunch spread. We hung out by the pool. My dad cooked dinner. It was really just a relaxing day with all of us, which is exactly what she wanted. So all of the moms out there, I hope that you were spoiled on Sunday. I hope that you got to relax. And I also just wanted to extend my love and hugs for everyone who celebrated Mother's Day without that very important person in their life. I know we have some people here in the House of Hill who have lost their moms. And this Sunday was also a first Mother's Day for our family, celebrating without some very important people in our life as well. So I just wanted to extend my love and hugs to all of you. And now I'll go ahead and stop myself because I know you Britney Spears people are like, Madison, let's get into this documentary because I hear the tea is hot, and you are not wrong. So straight to the tea people, this is your time to shine. Go ahead and put this time code down there in the comments to help out your fellow straight to the tea people. And now let's get to unwrapping these Britney Spears facts. All right, so as you all know, Britney Spears was under a conservatorship for 13 long years before she was finally freed in November of 2021. When this happened, we all celebrated. It was a great day. However, you all also know that Britney's legal troubles are far from over, as she is now going after her father, Jamie Spears, for his mistreatment of her and her finances during that time. However, that's neither here nor there at the moment, because what I want to talk about during this video is exactly what I teased at the beginning, and it is this new TMZ documentary that they put out on Fox. It's titled TMZ Investigates Britney Spears, The Price of Freedom. Now, the point of this documentary was to give people a little insight into Britney's life post-conservatorship. And while Britney herself did not participate, nor anyone who is in Britney's inner circle, close sources were the ones who were allegedly giving people in the TMZ newsroom all of the information that was used during this documentary. So all of the information that we're hearing is relayed from sources close to Britney. Like I mentioned, I'm gonna fill you guys in on the biggest takeaways or the biggest accusations made in this documentary, starting with the first accusation that Britney spends a lot of time alone. One of TMZ's executive producers really went into this fact that Britney Spears allegedly lives a life of isolation, saying that she spends most of her time at home by herself. Then TMZ's news director also commented on this, saying, quote, sometimes she'll drive to a quiet dirt path, park, and just kind of meditate. Then another TMZ producer jumped in here and said that Britney spends a lot of time by her pool because she likes to tan, work out, and dance, quote, wildly a lot. Which in my opinion, this was one of the more tamer accusations made in this documentary, and it also makes a lot of sense to me. It seems pretty on par. But then of course, TMZ took it up several notches with the other accusations made in this documentary. So moving on to the next big takeaway, and that is that Britney allegedly has a major caffeine problem. So Harvey Levin, he is the founder and the face of TMZ. I know you guys have seen him tons of times on your television, but he says that multiple sources told him that Britney drinks Red Bull, Celsius, coffee, and dandelion tea, quote, by the gallon, and this behavior, quote, contributes to her manic episodes. Now, of course, TMZ had some medical professionals weigh in here, and one of those medical professionals was Dr. Drew. Now, I have to be honest with you guys, Papa Hill absolutely cannot stand Dr. Drew. For those of you who don't know, know, my dad is a doctor, he's a psychiatrist, and he just cannot get over the fact that Dr. Drew is technically an internal medicine doctor, yet he is always on television, basically giving people therapy and helping them with their mental health. So my dad just really struggles with that because he's like, that is not Dr. Drew's specialty. So who is he to be giving people advice on their mental health? Now, he is an addiction specialist as well, so that's obviously why he was brought in on this Britney Spears documentary. But I just had to fill you guys in on Papa Hill's feelings about Dr. Drew because you guys know I just tell you everything, so I have to be honest with you guys. But anyway, in regards to Britney Spears' alleged caffeine problem, obviously Dr. Drew said that, you know, people with mental illness gravitate towards such stimulants to keep their energy up. Obviously, this is not a good habit for those who suffer from mental health problems. Harvey then went on to claim that these sources told him that sometimes Britney will be up for 3 days in a row due to how much caffeine she's allegedly drinking, which brings us to our next big takeaway, you guys, our next big accusation, and that is that Britney is allegedly a binge sleeper, because obviously, logically, if you're staying up for 3 days at a time, at some point your body's gonna crash and need to sleep for a very long time. So TMZ's managing editor claims that a close Britney source is the one making these binge sleeping accusations. This source also allegedly told TMZ that sometimes Britney will sleep for 3 days and then she won't sleep at all for the next few. So again, they're claiming that Britney's in this cycle of staying up for 3 days and then sleeping for 3 days. In general, Britney also reportedly sleeps a lot. However, when she is awake, she apparently loves to read, mostly fiction. Again, this is according to TMZ's managing editor, which I did at least like that they threw in one positive thing about Britney, that she is reading and she has fun reading fiction. Moving on to our next big takeaway, you guys, Britney is allegedly in constant fear of being reinstitutionalized. And if you've been seeing any headlines about Britney Spears needing to be kept away from knives, this is the takeaway where we're going to discuss that. So Harvey Levin claims in this documentary that one of the recommendations after the conservatorship ended was to, quote, keep knives away from Britney. Harvey claims that multiple sources said Britney has a, quote, fascination with knives. Harvey explained that Britney might have this fascination because she is in mortal fear that someone will come in the middle of the night, strap her to a gurney, and take her to a psych ward. One source claimed that she lives in, quote, constant fear of being institutionalized, which that's happened to Britney once before. I don't know if they came in the middle of the night or anything, but we know that her family did unwillingly place her in a facility that she didn't want to be at. So moving on to the next big takeaway, you guys, Britney and Sam's marriage is allegedly in trouble. Now, in this documentary, Britney is accused of getting physical with Sam on, quote, more than one occasion. Harvey Levin claims that their marriage is volatile and on the rocks. And then another TMZ employee weighs in claiming that despite Sam's size, he's a pretty massive guy, but he just takes it. However, despite Sam allegedly taking whatever physical attacks Britney is partaking on him, he does allegedly fight back verbally. Apparently, these two have gotten in screaming matches that are described as, quote, not infrequent. Another claim made about Britney and Sam's marriage in this documentary is that Sam doesn't stay at their home often, so that's very interesting to me. And then the last big takeaway obviously had to deal with Britney's children, her 2 sons that she shares with Kevin Federline. According to this documentary, Britney hasn't seen her kids in over a year. The kids have been with Kevin Federline full-time for a long time now, which obviously we all already knew that. TMZ claims that their sources said there have been some texts exchanged recently between Britney and her sons, so, quote, maybe the ice is thawing a bit. And for Britney's sake, I really do hope that that is true. Now, as I also mentioned at the beginning of this video, you guys, Sam Asghari has taken to social media. He has seemingly spoken out against this TMZ documentary in particular. He posted a very long video, so I'm just gonna give you the highlights of what he said. But essentially, he said that Britney lives under a microscope, which is so true. And now, he said, people are telling her story without her permission or her approval, which obviously is not okay. He then went on to ask people to not believe everything that they read online, because he said, you know, these people are trying to trick you, they're trying to use clickbait to have you click on their articles and make money. He also described the actions people took to make this documentary as, quote, disgusting. And then he just went on to make it very clear that he does not agree with what is being said in this documentary. Now, obviously, I have a lot of thoughts about all of this. I have a lot of thoughts about everything we discussed, and I obviously also don't think it's very appropriate to pop some champs right now. So instead, we're gonna pop a different kind of bubbly, a little sparkling water, peach, you guys know it's one of my favorites, and let's get into this. Okay, so first I want to start off with one of the accusations or takeaways that I actually believe to be true. And one of those is that Britney Spears lives her life in isolation. I 1000% believe that because hello, who can this woman freaking trust at this point? Anywhere she goes, she's being followed, she's being photographed. Her every move is being picked apart and prodded and analyzed. So if I were her, I also would probably not leave my mansion and I would just lay by my pool, exercise, dance, read. I could do anything that I could at my house as opposed to leaving and opening myself up to constant criticism. I absolutely cannot fault Britney for that at all, and it really irritates me that TMZ is trying to paint it in a negative light, that she's living in isolation and she only stays at home. It's like, yeah, she's a major celebrity who you guys have hounded for years and years and years and years. So she's staying home and living that life of isolation because of people like you. Now, as far as this claim that Britney Spears has a bad habit of taking too much caffeine, drinking too much caffeine, I do want to point out that Britney Spears did kind of address this on her Instagram whenever this accusation made headlines prior to the documentary airing. She posted a pretty lengthy caption, but in part it said, "My mind gets busy and sometimes that can be an easy target to mess with." She then clarified that she, quote, "can't even look at coffee," and that she drinks watermelon juice instead. So Britney is denying that, she's chugging coffee, Red Bull, Celsius. I'm not entirely sure what watermelon juice does for your energy levels, but I don't really think that's the point. I do think that Britney Spears has an irregular sleep schedule. I can see her, staying up for days at a time and then maybe sleeping a lot. A, that often happens when people have manic episodes with caffeine or not. That's just kind of the cycle of how things go. And B, I also think we need to recognize that Britney Spears is not going out of her house. She doesn't have a 9 to 5. She doesn't have a normal job. So it makes sense to me that she would have an irregular sleep schedule because she doesn't really have anywhere that she needs to be at a certain time. So if the girl wants to, sleep all day and be up all night, she can. She doesn't really have a reason to not be on her own unique schedule. So that part of the caffeine habit and binge sleeper accusations, I do believe. I believe that she has an irregular sleep schedule. I believe that she, stays up for a while and then sleeps for a long time. But I don't think it's as salacious as people are trying to make it sound. Obviously, I don't know that for sure. This is coming from a very hopeful place. I'm hoping that Britney doesn't have an issue with caffeine. I think we all forget that caffeine can technically be as addictive as anything else, or at least I know I forget that. So I'm very hopeful that Britney doesn't have an issue. Although I do want to point out this isn't the first time we've heard that she might have an issue with caffeine. If you remember a while back, whenever TMZ was reporting that those closest to Britney wanted to stage an intervention for her caffeine use was allegedly one of the concerns that was leading to that intervention. So yes, this isn't the first time we've heard this, but still I want to remain hopeful that she is being truthful and the girl is just drinking watermelon juice and she's not drinking too much of anything. Now, as far as that accusation about her fascination with knives and how it was recommended that she be kept away from knives because she's living in constant fear that she's going to be reinstitutionalized, I will say I believe that that fear is very real for Britney and I believe that it consumes her. But also, before everyone freaks out, can you just take a second and recognize that you would probably feel the exact same way if your family was able to put you in a facility against your will and nobody did a damn thing about it? I also would probably have that exact same fear that it could happen again. And then in regards to the whole knives thing, Jamie Lynn Spears did write about an incident in her book where Britney Spears allegedly locked her and Jamie Lynn in a room and she had a knife, but I don't really like to trust anything that comes out of Jamie Lynn's mouth. You can do what you will with that story. I don't know. Again, this is something else that I think is being blown up to be so much bigger than it actually is. Now, obviously, as far as her relationship with her kids, I believe that Britney's relationship with her sons is still strained, unfortunately, but I am happy to hear, at least I hope it's true, that some texts are being exchanged because I feel like Britney does want her sons in her life. And as far as the accusations about her and Sam Asghari's marriage, you guys know I've been skeptical about Sam Asghari for a while now. He just sets off my gut instinct that something isn't right with the guy, which makes me sad because I was hopeful that he would be a good advocate for Britney, but as of late, he's just been giving me off vibes. So I do believe that they get in fights. Every married couple gets in fights, but I do believe that these two probably have a little bit of a toxic relationship. I believe some screaming matches happen. I'm not sure about the accusation about Britney getting physical with Sam. I'm just saying I believe that these two probably definitely do get into arguments. However, I don't think they're as bad as this TMZ documentary is making them out to be, because then I don't think Sam Asghari would be on social media standing up for Britney and speaking out against this documentary. Or maybe he would. I don't know. The man loves press. The man loves a headline. I'm just, again, I want to hope that Britney Spears has one freaking advocate in her life. So yeah, you guys, overall, I think there's some truth to the claims that TMZ is making, but there's also a lot of exaggerating happening. In my opinion, what I think the real story is Britney okay? Because I'm sure you guys have seen on social media, especially TikTok, there are all these videos making some wild accusations about Britney. For example, are the videos we're seeing a Britney AI? Is a filter being used? Is that actually Britney? Is she okay? There's a lot of accusations going around about Britney Spears, and I feel like TMZ just missed the mark here. I feel like an actually good documentary would have been about the conspiracy theories happening around Britney and dispelling those conspiracy theories instead of just feeding the rumor mill even more. I don't know. I just feel like that would have been more compelling. I feel like it would have been more compelling to hear from Britney herself that she's okay, to hear from people who are actually around Britney Spears in their day-to-day lives instead of just people who work at TMZ and are relaying secondhand information. I don't know. I just feel like we didn't need another hit piece about Britney Spears and how crazy she is and the wild things she does. I just feel like this wasn't necessary. I feel like there was a bigger and better story to tell. And overall, you guys, I'm just hoping that Britney is okay and that she has complete autonomy over herself. I know we all have our doubts, but I'm just hoping that she's all right. And now that you guys know my thoughts, I'm ready to hear yours. I want to hear all of your thoughts and feels about this TMZ documentary about Britney Spears' life post-conservatorship. Let out all your thoughts and feels down below. While you guys are at it, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button and don't forget that notification bell. For more content, make sure you guys follow me over on Instagram and TikTok. And of course, don't forget to keep coming back here to check out my YouTube shorts. If you guys want to show me a little extra love, or you just want to make sure I see your comment, you can also hit that super thanks button down below. You guys can also check out all of my merch over at my merch store at houseofhill.com. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!